Welcome to the Weightlifting Scoop.
This is Glenn Pendlay with the Weightlifting Scoop.
This is Travis Cooper and
James Tatum.
Is your car faster than a lawnmower?
I have been out-accelerated by bicycles.
Yeah, if it's a riding lawnmower, watch out. You got to race, man.
Mega bass.
He's going to give him a mic kick in the knee.
Holy crap, James. Can we go back and train?
When I was a youngin',
Mike was trying to reach the mic.
And I actually thought somebody was going to die.
So, I have to say, I am so proud of Glenn. He cleaned out his truck today. What's going on, Glenn?
I don't know. That's pretty crazy though. It's been a few years.
A few years?
Well, I mean, I've taken a little bit of trash out of it or this or that, here and there. But as far as giving it a thorough cleaning where I actually, use the vacuum, look underneath the seats for all the crap that's gotten piled up and stuffed up under there and all those sort of things. It's, well, I know it's been since, at some point during the time I was at Cal Strength, because I found a lot of shit that had gotten pushed in this corner or that corner or this crack or that crack that was, from the Cal Strength days. So it was a job. It was a real job.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, we had a seminar in Atlanta. It was me, James, and, Glenn. And we picked up my dog, and we were heading back to Charlotte. And my dog, she found a bunch of sausage that had been in there for like a week.
Sausage?
And she was, yeah, I mean, I guess we had gone to some barbecue restaurant or something. I don't know. I guess it was only 3 days before that, but,
well, I found pork rinds that had been at least in there at least a couple of years.
Well, she was sniffing around, searching around the truck, I could tell that she was smelling something. And then she found it and she was eating it. And I realized it and I was scared for her life. I was like, Glenn leaving this sausage in here is going to kill my dog.
Yeah. I really use as an excuse that, and it's partially true. There's enough truth here to give it at least some validity. But, whenever I go to a competition and have 2 or 3 lifters with me, the back of my truck ends up absolutely full of Gatorade bottles, all kinds of food packaging and, from convenience stores and stuff like that. And so, but even though that happens, I kind of use that as an excuse. And whenever someone says, geez, why don't you clean out your truck? Disgusting, whatever, then I just use an excuse. Well, it's all from the lifters. They just pile all that crap back there and, I don't want to clean up their mess. So.
Oh, yeah.
But I do not really clean out my truck. And I'm just kind of that. I just leave stuff. I have papers that are semi-important, that have been laying on my dash for, 6 months or, a year and a half or something, and it just all lays up there in a pile and, it never gets cleaned out. And so then I don't want anyone else to help me clean it because there's no telling what important stuff they would throw away because there's really no telling what's in any of the pockets on the back of the seat or the piles on the dash or anything. And there might be something that's practically life and death up there. I don't want it thrown away.
So the real question is, how long is it going to stay clean?
Well, I'm hoping, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf here. I feel like that I would like to keep it cleaner, but I realized that, I took William out to do some things for my son, William, for Father's Day. And, he already left a Gatorade cup that was already laying on the floor of the back seat when I got in it this morning. And so I'm like, it only took half a day for the pile up to begin again. So I don't know how long it'll stay clean, James.
So real men do or do not clean their trucks?
I think it can go either way. I don't think how well you clean your truck defines you as a man, Travis.
So what if you're like me and you don't have a truck?
Well, that may define you as a man, James. I don't know.
Ooh. All right, I'll get the feet, you get the chest. We're gonna take him down right here. We both drive cars.
Yeah, you do, you guys, yeah, and it's okay to drive a car, I guess. It's not ideal.
I guess.
Yeah, it's not an ideal situation, but it is a lot easier to buy a cheap car than a cheap truck. And so if you're looking for an inexpensive vehicle, trucks tend to hold their value, and as they get older and older, they still retain a lot more value than a car. I mean, you can buy a $600 car that runs fine, You did, James. But it's awfully hard to find a $600 truck that runs fine. Any truck that runs good and is dependable is just worth a lot more than an old car. So,
that's true. I mean, we're on the weightlifter salary. You're on the weightlifting coach salary. So maybe.
Well, you, Travis, though, you have a fairly nice looking car that's not purple, as you told me last time.
It's red.
Yeah, it's red with no gold stripes, as you also told me last weightlifting talk. So it's a decent looking car.
Scoop, weightlifting scoop.
Weightlifting scoop. Yeah.
But in all seriousness, Father's Day was Sunday.
It was.
Are you going to get to see your kids?
Well, I did get to see my son, and it was really nice because for the last 2 Father's Days, I haven't had him with me. I think 2 Father's Days ago, he was still living with me, but he had gone to visit his mother. And then last Father's Day, he wasn't, living with me. And so it actually was really nice. And we didn't do anything spectacular, but we had an absolutely great day, and we pretty much spent the whole day together. And, we went out to eat, just me and him. And, one of his favorite thing, he did help me clean my truck. And like I said, that was a major deal. I mean, that was like an hour and a half, 2 hour ordeal.
Yeah.
And we both had a lot of fun. I mean, we actually had a good time. We recovered a lot of stuff. I found rocks in the back of that truck. My son used to really be obsessed with rocks, and any kind of neat looking rocks. And every time we go to Olive Garden, he'd like steal a rock out of their rock garden. Or every time we go anywhere, if he found an unusual looking rock, he'd save it. And so as we started to clean out under the seats, we found all these rocks that he had actually gotten and put in my truck, to take home, and then never remembered to take them out of my truck. But they were from, he's 11 now. They were from when he was like 5, 6, 7 years old. So we had a good time. We also, the thing that was really fun though is, I took him to a fireworks store, and it's also been 2 years since I've had him on the 4th of July. And, his mother doesn't really do the fireworks thing, and so it's been a long time since he's popped fireworks. And when he was younger,
so he's going to be here all the way until July 4th.
Well, he's going to be here until the end of July.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
So, it'll be a great summer. So I went totally overboard on fireworks. I figure I had to make up for 2 missed years. And so we're going to pop the shit out of fireworks this year.
South Carolina is the place to get fireworks for people that don't know.
Yeah, they sell them year round here, and it's legal to pop them off everywhere pretty much. And
we'll make sure he doesn't bring the Roman candles, into the gym while he's watching us.
No, we'll make sure of that. But we did get a ton of Roman candles. We got a ton of everything. Those big, packs that only shoot off like 8, but they go way up in the air. They're like
the mortars.
Yeah, kind of like commercial fireworks, they're really cool. So yeah, I went totally overboard. I made up for 2 missed years. And, pretty much all evening after we got home, he just sat on the floor with all of his fireworks, just looking at all of them and reading the packages and, looking at the descriptions of what they do. And, of course
that just builds up the anticipation too.
Well, it does. And of course he's already asking, can we shoot one of them off tonight, Dad? And I'm like, no, this is too soon.
So your son, William, he's very, very smart. Didn't he make like a pretty incredible score on the SAT like a year ago or so?
Yeah, he's an intelligent kid. He's in the like gifted and talent programs and all that stuff. And, I'm pretty proud of him. I want him to be able to come out here, and he's qualified for some program they do with Duke University in the summers. I really want to get him out here next summer and be able to do that. I think it would be great. I'm really proud of him. He's one of those, he enjoys school, and I guess some kids do and some don't. And I'm really glad that William does. He really enjoys school. When he was young, we did, I guess, in the preschool, kindergarten days, we did a lot of like homeschooling. I mean, he went to public school, but he used to, his funnest thing to do, things that he wanted to do more than play video games was I would make up pages of math homework, and like, 6 plus 7, or, it started out and then it was 24 plus 31, and just to make up pages on my, computer and print them out. And he would just work those problems as evening entertainment. And, he's actually really smart in math. He, at a very young age, 2nd grade, 1st grade even, he would do, 4-digit, addition, carrying the 1, in his head and be able to do that.
Converting kilos to pounds, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. He enjoys math, and he looks at it as a challenge. He looks at it as almost like, it's like playing a game or whatever, adding two numbers. It's fun for him. So or any of the other math things, but yeah, I'm real proud of him. He's a bright kid.
Well, yeah, I know you're really passionate about him. Glad he's here for the summer. We got a few questions though. One question is from Sam Scanlon, and he was asking about straps. He said, basically CrossFit is pretty anti-straps, for the most part. And he was asking us, do you wean yourself off of straps before competition? Do you keep using them? And, what's your view on them? And so I'm going to go ahead and give Glenn his opinion first, and then James, and then myself.
Well, I mean, my opinion would be that's an extremely individual thing. It can run the gamut. It's one of those things that, in my opinion, is whatever works for you. I've coached some good lifters that wore their straps virtually every single workout, every lift, right up until the meet. Donnie Schenkel would fall into that category. Donnie's done a lot of meets where he never really took his straps off before the meet. Trained all the way through for the, 8, 10, 12, however many weeks up to the meet, and used straps constantly. And then went into competition, did just fine. James Tatum is at the other end of the spectrum. He doesn't use straps all that much. Even far out from a meet, he mainly trains, at least when he does singles, he trains with his hands, and I think he'll use straps when we do, like if we'll do doubles, like one from the floor, then one from the hang, yeah, I'll use straps, but that's almost impossible not to, without giving yourself a chance to regrip for the next rep. I think that probably there is a minority that is in either one of those two camps. The majority of the people approach it, I think, like Travis Cooper does, and that is, he uses straps on most or even all of his heavy workouts far away from the meet. But he will do some work in the lighter workouts and such where he doesn't use straps, just to stay familiar with actually hook gripping the bar. And then as the meet comes closer, he'll gradually start to lose the straps until, the last week before the meet, I believe, he'll do most of his or almost all of his lifts without straps. And so that's the middle ground, and that's where most people go. But I've definitely seen lifters who are outliers in either direction do absolutely fine. And so, my thing with straps is just we find out what works for you and then do it.
Yeah, something I actually do is, I actually start using straps more closer to the competition to kind of give my hands a little bit of a break. My grip is never really the limiting factor on any of my lifts, except for like doubles and stuff. It just makes it easier, lowering the bar down. It's a pain in the neck if you don't have straps on. But like in the morning sessions, I've actually started using straps now to, just give my thumbs a break and almost let my grip recover a little bit more so that when I go out there and compete, my hands will be even more fresh. But, for the most part, my grip won't be a problem. But something interesting, someone along the lines of me is, Neiman. She doesn't use straps. I don't think she's, ever used straps.
Well, Neiman is, so much of a different case than either you guys or most other people in that she started, hanging she started coming to the gym with her grandmother. And this was when she was just like 3 or 4 years old. And her grandmother actually, became world masters champion and a world record holder in her age and weight class. So her grandma was a pretty good lifter. And even just was coming to the gym with her, and she started doing snatches and clean and jerks herself when she was, she was messing around with it probably a little at 6 years old. And then by the time she was 8, she was training 3 times a week real steady. And so when you start that young, and of course, younger kids like that, you're not going to really have the need to teach them or be able to teach them how to use straps. When you start that young, the grip and the ability to hook and whatever just kind of develops naturally, slowly. I doubt if Neiman will ever have trouble with her grip, but you have, I think most people notice she hook grips really, really weird. She sticks her thumb in between her first 2 fingers.
Yeah, I saw that.
I tried to make her stop doing that, but she's done it for like 7 years now, and she doesn't have any problem whatsoever with her grip. So I guess I just kind of gave up trying to make her do it any other way.
Yeah, something also interesting. Elizabeth Akinwally came up here last week, I guess, and they were doing doubles on the snatch, and they didn't use straps. She did a double with 80 kilos without using straps. So she lowered it and then did the second one from the hang. I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, she does a lot of things that are pretty impressive.
Well, that's also because in a CrossFit competition, they could have complexes programmed in which you wouldn't be allowed to use straps. So I think it's more to be ready for the unknown in CrossFit. Whereas in weightlifting, you know you're only going to do singles. So Glenn kind of stole our thunder because he used us as examples.
I'm sorry, Travis.
But now I know John used to not like cut out the straps very much. And, you know, I've seen John do a workout where he snatched 150, up to 150, then took off the straps for 155, smoked it, and then used straps again at 160, and then snatched like 162 without straps, just to show that it truly doesn't make a difference. Now for me, if I'm going to go without straps, I got to start out snatching without straps. And if I'm going to use them, I got to start out using the straps. So I pretty much have to start over at 50 kilos if I decide to switch.
Travis, I've got to interrupt you here. While we were just sitting here, and I wasn't paying attention to James, he's over here, he's making origami out of Post-it notes.
Well, if we had an origami competition, it would be game on.
You can make origami too?
Oh yeah, I can make that. I can make ninja stars, all kinds of stuff.
James just made, is that a dinosaur or a goose?
It's a swan.
Paper crane.
It's, well, it kind of looks like a dragon or a dinosaur too.
Yeah, dragon. I like that better.
Well, okay, so this little dragon, that he just made, not only is it a dragon, but there's a little thing under it, if you pull it, it makes the wings flop. It makes it fly. That's absolutely amazing.
It's the little things, huh?
That's incredible. And I thought you were only a weightlifter, James.
I've got many hidden talents.
Well, he didn't play sports as a kid. Basically, he hates sports. So weightlifting is the only sport that he plays.
Weightlifting and origami.
I'll tell you what, I grew up, I did most of my physical activity climbing ropes and staying on a rowboat, and I think that helped out with weightlifting. So I think they're kind of like precursors.
You think that helped out with your origami?
Yeah, fine motor control, climbing the ropes.
Well, anyway, I'm just amazed. This is some pretty good origami to make out of a little Post-it note just between speaking on Weightlifting Scoop. That's pretty awesome. All right, Travis, I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead. Man.
Now I'm going to have to make something cool. So anyways, yeah, Glenn basically described what I would do with straps. This week, not really going to use straps at all. Just want to hit my opener without straps a few times, maybe my second attempt. And I think that's about it for that. I would recommend, if you're a beginner, to not use straps until you're training at least 5 times a week. If you're only training weightlifting 3 times a week, don't use them at all. It's not necessary. Would you agree?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, I would agree. You just don't need to rest your hands when you're training 3 times a week all that much. I could see how straps might be useful if you're doing like triples or something, but then again, I wouldn't be a huge proponent of having beginners do triples. So, yeah, I think in general, that's right. If you're training, 3 or 4 times a week, there's not probably much need for them. As the weights get heavier and your training load gets greater and greater, I do think that eventually just about everybody has to use straps, at least some. As James said, just the load on your hands and whatnot.
Well, okay, so I didn't make this clear. If you're doing lifts from the hang, obviously use straps. If you're doing heavy pulls that are significantly heavier than your max snatch, use straps as a beginner, because most beginner programs are going to have those exercises in there. However, when you're going from the floor, never use straps as a beginner unless you're training the snatch at least 5 times a week.
Yeah, something with the pull too is if you're really trying to focus on getting your legs stronger or your pull stronger and your grip's not an issue, you get more neural drive to the bigger muscles if you use straps, and you don't have to send all that neural drive down to your grip, and you'll actually get a better training effect too.
And that's from an exercise science major, so it must be true. Trust him, he's a doctor.
Bitch, please.
Glenn has been waiting to say that this whole podcast.
Yeah, I had my moment.
So we also had a question on Pendlay forum from David S. So whoever David S. is out there, he asks, do you lose the hook grip in the snatch, or do you not? Do you keep it? Now, I would say whatever happens naturally, but if you're having a ton of thumb pain, teach yourself to let the hook grip come out when you turn that bar over. I do not keep the hook grip. I've never been flexible in that way with my hands. However, tons of lifters do. So I don't think either way is wrong, but if you're getting a lot of thumb pain by squeezing the thumb, obviously teach yourself to let it go.
Somebody asked me that question once, and I had no idea. So,
James, I actually think that is probably true for half, if not the majority of lifters. If you ask them if they release the thumb, they will not know whether they do it or not.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue. So I had to go back and look at some pictures and look closely, and I saw that I keep it, which kind of surprised me because I just didn't know.
Well, now I feel bad bringing this question up. I'm going to screw James up. He's going to be thinking about the crap like that, but but what do you think, Lynn? I mean, you think it's like 50-50 or?
I'm going to say I probably would estimate that more people lose it, but probably not by much. But then again, I may be totally wrong saying it because it's not something I would look at. I mean, unless someone was having trouble catching. It's that if you're not having trouble rotating your wrist back, and putting your hand in the right position, I would never even care if you kept the hook or not, nor would I ever really look at it or notice it. On the other hand, if you're somebody that's catching it with your wrist really straight and not able to rotate your wrist back like you're supposed to, then it's something I would look at to see if you are or aren't. And if you are keeping it, I would probably say try letting it go. But if you're not having any trouble in that area, then I mean, there's probably been times that I've coached somebody for a couple of years, and if someone asked me, do they release the hook? I would say, well, crap, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, basically, moral of the story, don't overcoach, the little things like that. Some people do it, some people don't. If it's not a major issue, like making them miss the weight, don't coach it either way. But like I said, if you're having pain, teach yourself to release it. So I guess James had a question from his blog actually as well.
Well, this one wasn't actually on the blog. It was on one of the videos that they posted, and a lot of people commented underneath it about squatting and the knees coming in during the squat. And there's definitely two different schools of thought on that. And but pretty much me and Coach were talking about it earlier today, and he was talking about in weightlifting, it's not really that big of an issue. And then we were talking a little bit about powerlifting. Powerlifting, if the knees come in when you're doing like a wide powerlifting squat, then you would come into some real big issues, but it's a totally different motor pattern than your normal high bar back squat that's relative to, weightlifting.
Yeah, as long as your feet are shoulder width or even narrower maybe or whatever, the knees coming in a little bit is not the biggest deal in the world. If you're squatting well outside your shoulders, wide feet, something you definitely don't want to happen. But it probably everyone that's a fan of weightlifting has noticed that there's a pretty high percentage of really good lifters that once they get to an absolute limit clean or any kind of a clean or front squat that's actually really taxes them to the absolute limit to stand up with, good proportion of people will wag their knees in at least during a portion of the lift to get through the sticking point. And I don't think people in general are ever really going to get away from that because pushing your knees in, changes the angles a little bit and helps you push through that sticking point. And so whenever you get to a limit weight, your body kind of naturally does what it has to do to raise the hips a little and get through the sticking point. And, unless I think, Alex Krychev actually commented once on, Hyson, what's his last name?
I forget his last name, but Hyson, yeah.
Palooka, yeah. We're talking about how in his one of his cleans, like a 190 clean, his knees came in, and it's like, Krychev's response is, well, when he can clean 200, his knees won't come in on 190. They'll only come in on 200. And when he can clean 210, his knees won't come in on 200 anymore, only at 210. So, I mean, you just kind of extrapolate that, it's just something that's going to happen to some people, with absolute max weights. And, I would agree if you're doing all your warm-up sets like that and everything, and that's something to fix. But if it happens at an absolute max attempt, I don't think it's even worth worrying about at that point because you really can't fix it.
Yeah, I mean, just in my time of weightlifting, a lot of people, their knees come in, and it's just, it's not something that you want to spend hours and hours trying to correct if they're only doing it at max attempts. I mean, for the most part, these people stayed injury free. It didn't really cause any major issues. But if you are obviously wide stance squatting, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the ligaments in your knees.
So if your knees touch in a competition, will you be red lighted?
No.
Yeah, no.
It's not illegal.
So moving right along, James and I and Glenn, we get a ton of Facebook messages along with the other guys on the team. Just, sending us videos, and we don't mind looking at the videos, but the problem is if, like 40, 50 people, if we get a ton of messages, it might get lost in our Facebook. So post your videos if you want them critiqued on Pendlay forum and questions, and you'll get more than one person's opinion as well as probably one of ours.
Yeah, I would add to that. Like, I sometimes feel really bad because, I have people that have sent a video or a question or something like that to my Facebook, and I do miss a lot of them on my Facebook just because, believe it or not, I get a lot of those kind of requests. And, a lot of times when I'm on Facebook, I'm not like in the situation, like I'm on my phone or something, and I'm in a situation where I could sit down and watch a video and type out a well thought out, critique or answer. And so, if they come to the forum instead, you just have a lot better, better chance of getting not only, if you want to ask me a question or what I think about a video, much easier to do from my standpoint, but you'll also get some other valuable opinions, some other coaches and athletes that actually have something reasonable to say. So it's just better all around.
Yeah. And even in the title of your, post on the forum, you could even put the name of whoever you want to take a look at it and welcome it up to other people too. So if you wanted Glenn's opinion on something, you could put, what would they say? Like, Glenn, take a look.
Hey, Glenn, will you watch my video? Or something like that. Yeah. No need to get fancy with it. It's just the videos on Facebook is really hard to respond to. Like a lot of people, when I'm on Facebook, a lot of times it's my phone and not really a situation where I can, easily, my fingers are too fat to type on my phone. So it's not a situation where it's very easy to respond.
Yeah, so we just everybody on the team gets a lot of Facebook messages. So if we didn't respond, nothing against you. We just get a lot of messages and they get lost sometimes. So, post them on Pendlay forum and we'll be glad to take a look, when we get a chance.
And you may even get Daniel Bell to look at it.
Yeah,
probably not, but
Dan Bell,
it could happen.
Glenn Pendlay, a lot of the lifters on the team. So you'll get some good critique and, different points of view than just ours. So also, this has kind of been a hot topic online lately. How the bar makes contact with the body. What do you think, Glenn?
I think if you extend hard enough, then your hips are going to run into the bar.
Yeah, so I mean, the bar physically makes contact with the hips. Some people do brush a little earlier, and so it doesn't rattle off the hips. So I trained with Jake Rubash for a while, and he starts the brush a little early. He's very tall, but the bar gets up to his hips, and he's super flexible back, so his hips go up to the sky basically, and it's pretty obvious that his hips are moving the bar. Most lifters though, the bar is only going to make contact at one point in the waistline somewhere. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. That's the vast majority of cases. There's a very discrete point at which as the hips are extending, they run into the bar. And it's a kind of a funny thing because when you say, bang the bar or whatever, it does give some people the wrong idea. Because it gives some people the idea that the whole object is to smash the hips into the bar. And that really isn't the case. The object is to make the bar go up by extending the body, by extending the hip joint. However, a consequence of that, a side effect of that is that the two things, the hips and the bar, are going to run into each other at some point. And, the cue kind of works. It's a little backwards, but usually if you really hit the hips, if there's a solid contact, you're extending and exploding powerfully and quickly. And if there's just no contact or very, very, very slight contact, that you are not extending very violently or very explosively. So, hence the cue, to smack the bar with the hips.
Now, for a while, a lot of people, when I first started weightlifting, it was like you start the brush mid-thigh and you try to bring it up from there. And I didn't really understand that you were supposed to control the bar until it came into the waistline. And I tell you what, I mean, it's made a huge difference. Something very simple that if I had looked at a few YouTube videos, I would say, like Arminol does not do that. Like any good lifter doesn't really brush the bar. They bring the bar and it makes distinct contact at one point, and then the bar goes overhead from there. So anyway, something interesting.
Yeah. In a way, the talk, the conflict, the controversy, the whatever about that is now certainly not 100%. Certainly there are people who are wrong, and there's people like me and Travis who are right. On the other hand, some of the, it's always semantics. I feel like the whole catapult versus jump and shrug thing. Yeah, there's a little difference of opinion in there. Definitely. But some of the controversy is just semantics and people either not saying exactly what they mean or someone else not hearing exactly what they're meaning. I don't know if you get my drift there, but, so there's probably less disagreement about the whole hips in the bar thing, than it would seem, because some of it is semantics in my opinion.
Well, when I started thinking about, smacking the bar with my hips, banging the bar, watch my pelvis type lifting, I started moving some weight, and my snatch is going up from like 140 to 155. I mean, that's a 10% increase on changing the technique, the way I was thinking about the technique. But you know what? At the end of the day, all these coaches that say jump and shrug or catapult or whatever, you send them videos of like 5 lifters who you believe have the greatest technique in the world, and they'll both say, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You could send them a Chinese lifter who scrapes the thighs all the way up, but the bar still gets up to the hip, and they'll say that's great technique. So everybody varies slightly, but they all get to that Pendlay position 1.
I would agree. What do you think, James?
Sounds about right.
You're supposed to say, yep.
Yeah, no, I got to go on to new things. The yep has been overdone a little bit. So we'll see what else we can come up with.
I mean, that bar comes in and you uppercut that bar with your pelvis. I call it P squared, pelvis punch. I mean, there's different ways to look at it, but I certainly think that there's distinct contact. You should hear that bar. And so that's my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. It's difficult to find a video of a, world record or world class snatch where you can't hear the bar and the pelvis or the hips or whatever interact. Some people are going to do it more exaggerated, some a little less. A lot of that depends on how far the bar was away from the upper thigh and hips before you started extending, whether you brought it in really close or you left it a couple inches away. But it's going to happen. It's impossible to find a really, really good, well done, big world-class lift where it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and that's another good thing about actually being there in person to watch a good lifter lift is you can see these things and hear them, and you just pick up details that you don't see in videos.
Oh, that's absolutely correct. There's been, a ton of times, every seminar, when, I've used Caleb Ward, John North in the past, Travis Cooper and James are doing most of the ones now. There's always people that are attending the seminar that says that the fact that they sat 6 feet away in real life, watched, and they could hear what was going on was, so much better than simply learning on YouTube because they just didn't get the same effect.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, don't make the same mistakes I did. I was sitting there, and it's nobody's fault just because just USA weightlifting in general was, what do I want to say? They were proponents of a certain technique that wasn't necessarily how I like to teach it now or think of it. And so I'm saving you 5 years of time because I sat there for 5 years thinking jump and shrug, didn't really understand that the bar should hit the hips hard. So, believe me or not, but I'm saving you a lot of time. And don't waste away kilos.
Good advice.
That might be the next Twitter thing. Pound, don't waste away kilos.
Yeah, what does Don say? He says something along those lines, like you're giving away kilos. You're giving away kilos.
I don't know. I don't listen to Don all that close.
Damn,
that's a joke, obviously. Sorry, Don. No, he's like you're giving away kilos. I can't remember exactly what it is. Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what he says. So he's like, sweep that bar in. You're giving away kilos. So, don't give away kilos. You only have so much strength. Anyways, so we're going to be going to Pan Am's. I'm going to give James an opportunity to, give some last words to you guys.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to going to Pan Am's. It'll be my first international meet.
James, are you nervous at all because it's your first meet? I mean, we haven't talked about this at all, so I don't even know what you're going to say, but do you feel like you're nervous because it's your first, or is this just another meet?
You know what? I don't think it's going to hit me yet. I think it's starting to a little bit, starting to get excited about it, a little nervous. I don't think it's going to be any different because it's an international meet. I think, I usually get pretty nervous before every meet. So, I think this one will be about the same, amount of nerves. But, yeah, it should be good.
Do you think that the weird and painful travel arrangements are going to be difficult? Or do you think that you'll fly right through that? I mean, I don't really know what your history is when it comes to travel and all that.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to bring 2 books. So if I finish one, I'm just going to be able to get my mind off of all the travel things. Just read and, not worry about it. And, just don't add any extra stressors in there. So I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue. 'Cause in the past, traveling hasn't affected me too much with my lifting.
Do you sleep well on like strange beds and all that?
Yeah, as long as I'm in a bed. I don't sleep too well on like airplane seats or anything like that, but bed I do just fine, especially hotel beds because they have those really fluffy pillows. Those things are great.
Yeah, a good pillow. It's worth a lot. Now, I can't sleep in hotels very well at all, and so that's always a problem for me.
Well, I don't think James is going to have a problem. I think he could live out in the forest and be just fine. He's a simple man and he doesn't let travel get to him. So I think he'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, that's, I asked that because, I've had a number of lifters, go to international meets. And I mean, some of them, it takes 2 or 3 before they really calm their nerves and can actually perform. And others just go to it and do their best,
Yeah, and I tend to think that I do better when I'm really nervous, so I almost don't want to be to the point where I'm not nervous going into a competition.
Yeah, I could see that about you. I mean, you tend to, you handle pressure well. Like pressure brings out your best and so you don't fall apart under pressure like some people do. I can see that.
Well, I need to be nervous too. It is not fun to be indifferent about a meet. If you're not nervous, then you're not pulling on the bar as hard as you can, But yeah, I mean, I just want to say, after, Glenn posted about my 350, I got a ton of Facebook messages and thanks for the support. I really appreciate it. Honestly, I've never had training like this, so I'm a bit nervous. Everybody knows that I did a 350 the other day and then there'll be a video of it soon. So, there's a lot of pressure to perform, but I'm excited about it and I can't think of anything that I could have done differently these past 2 months to prepare myself. So, hopefully it shows. I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully all this hard work pays off.
Yeah, I just, I tweeted this, when I realized it. I didn't realize it until about, 4 hours after he did that 350 total. But, with that 350 total, he became the best lifter that I've ever coached, the highest Sinclair of anyone I've ever coached. And I thought that was pretty significant, I suppose, since I coached Donnie for so long, and Donnie he's a hell of a lifter, that, it was almost like I did a double take when I did the Sinclair numbers. I was like, that is significantly higher Sinclair than Donnie's ever done, training or competition. So just like say congrats, Travis. And, I think for me anyway, as a coach, that was a big deal. It was a really big deal.
Well, that was a day of training. I understand that, the difference.
Well, I'm counting Donnie's training days too, though. So, I mean.
Yeah. But I mean, I certainly don't want to have that day and then never do it in a competition. So I understand the difference and I'm really excited. Hopefully I can get over that 150 mark in competition and the snatch and and over that 190 in the clean and jerk. So, I'm not content. I'm certainly happy with how I did.
I think as far as being content as a coach, and I hope you as a lifter, we've certainly talked about certain numbers, some are American record numbers and, numbers that you definitely wanted to accomplish before you quit weightlifting and things like that. That day brought you close enough to those numbers that it's like more immediate. It's more like, hey, now I really know I can do the numbers that I want,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's like when I first started weightlifting, the first national championship I went to was the 06. And I lifted as a 77, so I was sitting there watching the 85 kilo class, and it had lifters like Innocent Upkong, Kendrick Ferris, and the 94s were grouped in. So there was Jeff Whitmer, Matt Devine. I don't think Nork lifted at that one, but there was a lot of good lifters, and I was sitting there and I'm like, wow, I just almost thought those numbers were impossible. I was like, these guys are so good. I think at the time I did like 115 and 160. And, so, that's a day that I've been dreaming of for a long time. And like I said, I want to do it in competition. So, that's what I'm looking forward to. But, thank you guys for the support. And, thanks for watching our training and giving James and I, words of support.
Yeah, something interesting, that morning, or on the drive to the gym when Travis did 155, 195, he said, man, I'm not feeling too good today. It's like, I might just triple 120 in the snatch today and like be done with it. It's like, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to go much heavier than that. And then, what do you know? Throws up 155 in the snatch. And then I was like, oh, he's going to be tired. He's not going to do too much. And then, what do you know? Does 195 in the clean and jerk.
Well, I had been joking around with Glenn. I got to be honest. I had been telling him earlier in the week. I told him on Wednesday I was going to hit 155, 195. And then we were talking to Rudy, and we were talking about peaking out for a meet and this and that, when you should have your last heavy day. And so I said, hey, Glenn, so he's basically saying I should hit 55, 95 on Friday. How do you feel about that? And, I don't know if Glenn believed me or not, but anyways, it was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, well, sometimes, let's face it, you have had the best 3 weeks of training in your life by far ever, correct?
Oh, yeah.
150 is a weight that, it was one of those, like for the last 9 months, it's been like, I might hit it once a month type of thing.
Oh yeah, probably less than that on average, so.
Yeah, and then for the past 3 weeks, you pretty much hit it every time we've had a heavy workout. And so just things that it's not just been that your heaviest weights have gone up. It's the consistency, even at, like 95, 97% type weights is just through the roof. You hit them every time you try them. So everything is just taking a big step forward. One of my remarks was, this is like real progress. This is not just you hit a lift because you had a great day and, whatever, but it's like, weights that used to be once a month type weights are now every workout type weights. It's real solid, measurable progress. So honestly couldn't be more thrilled. That's, for some of you guys that have lifted for 2 years or a year or 3 years or whatever, it's, when you've been lifting 2 years, you should be going up every couple months. You should get PRs multiple times per year and whatever. When you've been lifting, for 7 years, it's tough to take a big step like that. Travis had a PR total of 343. 9 days later, had a 7 kilo, PR total of 350. That's just an astronomical amount of progress in a 2 or 3 week period. It just shouldn't happen, when you've been training as long as Travis. So it's been a real joy, for me as a coach, just to see him make that huge step. And then obviously I'm sure for him to have made it himself.
It's the first time that I realized, this is the first month where my training's come around and I realized, hey, I wouldn't have done this if I would have stayed home. Before this, I was kind of like wishy-washy, like I could have done this if I would have stayed at home. I'm not really making that much progress, but now I realize, hey, this was the right move. I know that I could not have done that at home. Anyways, we need to kind of wrap this up. We got training today in a few minutes. So check us out on Twitter, ask us questions. We'll try to do a good job of answering all the questions that we get. W Lifting Scoop, on Twitter. You can just search Weightlifting Scoop in the search bar. Also, we have a Gmail, theweightliftingscoop@gmail.com. And check out my blog, Dozer Strength. And James?
JamesTatumUSA.com. And I guess I'm trying to get a little bit more active on Twitter. So if you guys want to tweet me, it's James Tatum 8, and like the number 8, and hold me accountable to tweeting more.
All right, yeah, so we're going to leave you with a little bit of Epic Sax Guy. Nothing makes you want to train more than Epic Sax Guy if you haven't heard it. So, listen to this, turn the volume up, and train hard.